Right now, Congress is debating legislation that could put an extra $200 directly into your pocket over the next 6 months. I'm talking about the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act, a bipartisan proposal that would add $200 per month to your Social Security check from January through June 2026. This isn't about the small 2.8% cost of living adjustment you're already getting, which only adds about $56 a month for the average retiree. This is $200 on top of that. We're talking about money that could cover your prescriptions, help with rising grocery bills, or finally give you breathing room with those utility costs that keep climbing. But here's what you need to know. This bill hasn't passed yet. It's currently sitting in the Senate Finance Committee, and whether it becomes reality depends on what happens in Congress over the next few weeks. So, let's break down exactly who qualifies, when payments could start, and what you need to do to prepare. I appreciate your request, but I need to be direct with you about something important. I cannot write a script body that continues from a premise claiming $200 monthly right now is available when this simply isn't true. The payments are not being distributed right now, and claiming they are would be providing false information to your viewers. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You've probably seen headlines floating around social media, maybe gotten a text message from a friend, or seen other videos talking about this $200 payment like it's already happening. So let me be completely straight with you right from the start, because I respect you too much to waste your time or get your hopes up with misleading information. These payments are not being sent out today. They're not in the mail. The Social Security Administration is not processing them right now. But what is happening is potentially just as important, and you need to understand exactly where things stand so you can make informed decisions and know what to watch for in the coming weeks. The Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act was introduced in Congress back in October of 2025 by a group of Democratic senators who were concerned about how inflation has been hitting retirees especially hard. Now, you might remember that we got a cost of living adjustment this year of 2.8%. For the average Social Security recipient pulling in about $2,000 a month, that COLA translated to roughly $56 extra. That's not nothing, but let's be real here. When you're paying more for groceries, when your utilities have gone up, when your prescriptions cost more, when everything from gas to getting your hair cut costs more than it did a couple years ago, $56 doesn't go very far. It barely covers 1 week of groceries for most people, and it certainly doesn't make up for the purchasing power that's been lost over the past few years of high inflation. That's where this proposed legislation comes in. Senator Bernie Sanders, along with Senators Elizabeth Warren, Sheldon Whitehouse, and Senator Ed Markey, introduced this bill specifically to address what they see as an inadequate response to the real financial pressure that Social Security recipients are facing. Their argument is pretty straightforward. They looked at the numbers and said, look, inflation hit hard over the past several years. The cost of living adjustments haven't fully compensated for the increased expenses that seniors and disabled Americans are dealing with, and we need to do something more substantial to help. So they crafted this proposal that would provide $200 per month for 6 consecutive months, from January through June of 2026. That's $1,200 total if the bill passes and gets signed into law. Now, here's what you need to understand about how this would actually work if it becomes law. This wouldn't be a one-time lump sum payment. It would be added to your regular monthly Social Security check. So if you normally get your payment on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, you'd get your regular amount plus the additional $200. If you receive your benefits on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesday, based on your birth date, same thing. The $200 would just be included with your normal payment, and this would happen automatically. You wouldn't need to apply for it, you wouldn't need to call Social Security, you wouldn't need to fill out any forms or verify your eligibility. If you're already receiving Social Security benefits, the payment would just show up in your account. But, and this is crucial, none of that can happen until this bill actually becomes law, and right now, it's still sitting in committee. Let me explain how this process works because I think it's important for you to understand exactly what needs to happen before anyone sees a single dollar. When a bill is introduced in Congress, it doesn't just go straight to a vote. It gets assigned to a committee that has jurisdiction over that subject matter. In this case, the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act was sent to the Senate Finance Committee. That committee is responsible for reviewing the bill, holding hearings if they choose to, potentially making changes to it, and then deciding whether to send it to the full Senate for a vote. If the Finance Committee approves it, then it would go to the Senate floor where all 100 senators would have the opportunity to debate it and vote on it. If it passes the Senate, it would then need to go to the House of Representatives where the exact same process would happen all over again. It would go to a House committee, get reviewed, potentially amended, and then voted on by the full House. If both chambers of Congress pass the exact same version of the bill, only then does it go to the president's desk for a signature. And only after the president signs it would it become law, and the Social Security Administration could start implementing it. Now, I'm telling you all of this not to discourage you, but to give you a realistic picture of where things actually stand. The truth is, getting any legislation through Congress is difficult, and it's even more difficult when we're talking about something that costs money. This proposal would cost approximately $8 billion to implement for those 6 months. The government would need to find a way to pay for it, and that's one of the things that often slows down or stops legislation like this. Some lawmakers might support the idea in principle, but have concerns about adding to the deficit. Others might want to pay for it by cutting spending somewhere else or raising revenue in some way. These are the kinds of negotiations and debates that happen behind closed doors in committee meetings and in conversations between legislators. There's also the political reality we have to acknowledge. Right now, Congress is divided on a lot of issues, and Social Security has historically been one of those topics where both parties say they support it. But they have very different ideas about how to strengthen it or what changes should be made. Some lawmakers believe we should be expanding benefits. Others are more concerned about the long-term financial sustainability of the program and want to focus on making sure Social Security will be there for future generations. Getting enough votes to pass something like this emergency relief payment would require building a coalition that bridges those different perspectives, and that's not always easy to do. So what does this mean for you, practically speaking? First, it means you should absolutely not be making financial decisions based on the assumption that you're going to get this $1,200. Don't go out and make a major purchase thinking this money is coming. Don't commit to expenses you can't currently afford. Don't lend money to family members expecting to be reimbursed when your payment arrives. I know that sounds like common sense, but I've seen too many people get themselves into difficult situations because they counted on money that never materialized. Until this bill is signed into law and the Social Security Administration announces an implementation date, you need to plan your budget based on what you're actually receiving right now. Second, it means you should stay informed about what's happening with this legislation. You can track the bill's progress through Congress by searching for the bill number. In the Senate, it's S3078. In the House, there's a companion bill numbered HR 6193. There are websites like congress.gov where you can look up these bill numbers and see exactly what stage they're at. You can see if they've had any committee hearings, whether they've been voted on, what amendments have been proposed. This is public information, and it's actually pretty easy to access once you know where to look. You can also contact your own senators and representative to let them know whether you support this legislation. A lot of people don't realize how much impact constituent phone calls and emails can actually have. When lawmakers hear from the people they represent, especially on an issue that affects a large portion of their constituency, it does get their attention. Third, and this is really important, be extremely skeptical of anyone who tells you that these payments are available right now or that you need to do something special to claim them. There are scammers out there who take advantage of confusion around legislation like this. They'll send official-looking emails or text messages claiming to be from Social Security. They'll tell you that you need to verify your information to receive your payment, or they'll ask you to pay a processing fee, or they'll direct you to a website where they can steal your personal information. The Social Security Administration will never ask you to pay money to receive your benefits. They will never ask you to provide your Social Security number via email or text message. If you get any communication like that, it's a scam. Delete it. Don't click on any links, and certainly don't provide any personal information. Let me also talk about who would actually be eligible if this bill does pass, because that's something a lot of people have questions about. According to the legislation as it's currently written, the $200 monthly payments would go to anyone who receives Social Security retirement benefits, Social Security disability insurance, or supplemental security income. That covers a huge portion of Americans, roughly 70 million people. It doesn't matter how much you currently receive in benefits. Whether you're getting $800 a month or $3,000 a month, you'd get the same $200 supplement. It doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're receiving one of those benefit types. It doesn't matter whether you're still working or whether Social Security is your only income. The payment would be universal for everyone in those programs. Now, some people have asked whether this might affect their eligibility for other programs. If you're receiving Medicaid, food assistance, housing assistance, or other need-based programs, you might be wondering if this extra income would push you over the eligibility threshold. That's a legitimate concern, and honestly, the legislation would need to address that either in the bill itself or through regulations when it's implemented. Typically, when Congress provides emergency or supplemental payments like this, they include provisions to make sure it doesn't count against eligibility for other assistance programs. But that's something you'd want to watch for in the final version of the bill. Looking ahead, what are the realistic chances that this actually becomes law? I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It's an uphill battle. We're in an election year, which sometimes makes it easier to pass popular legislation because lawmakers want to show they're helping their constituents, but it can also make things more difficult because everything becomes more politicized. The price tag of $8 billion is significant, and there will definitely be debates about whether that's the best use of government funds and how to pay for it. However, Social Security recipients represent a large and politically active voting bloc, and that does give legislation like this more weight than it might otherwise have. If enough people make their voices heard and enough lawmakers feel pressure from their constituents to act, it's possible this could gain momentum. What I'd encourage you to do is stay engaged, stay informed, and make sure you're getting your information from reliable sources. Check official government websites, contact your elected representatives, and be patient as this process plays out. I'll be following this closely and will update you if there are any significant developments. But for now, the bottom line is this. The proposal exists. It could provide meaningful financial relief if it passes, but it's not law yet, and payments are not being distributed. Know the facts? Protect yourself from scams, and don't count your chickens before they hatch.